Nothing announces the transfer at first. It does not arrive with panic, or headlines, or a visible collapse. It arrives as a small failure that should have stayed somewhere above you, and doesn't. A shock moves through the system. But there is no thicker layer left to catch it, slow it, price it, smooth it, or hide it. What once would have been absorbed by institutions now keeps moving. It passes through employers. It passes through policy. It passes through markets. It passes through the language that used to make instability sound temporary. And then it reaches your rent, your savings, your work, your timing, your decisions. That is the shift. Not that the world became uncertain. It was always uncertain. The shift is that uncertainty is no longer being contained for you. The buffering function is weaker now. The distance between systemic volatility and personal consequence is thinner. You do not stand outside the impact anymore, trying to interpret it. You stand inside it, taking it in real time. There was a version of modern life built on delay. Not safety in any pure sense, but delay. Delay between disruption and consequence. Delay between policy error and household pain. Delay between economic weakness and personal exposure. Your job sat inside that delay. Large firms could absorb losses for a while. Hiring systems moved slowly. Promotion ladders moved slowly. Even inefficiency acted like padding. You could still believe that if you stayed competent, stayed useful, stayed patient, the structure would carry part of the uncertainty for you. Income felt imperfect, but legible. You knew where the month was going. You knew what effort was supposed to buy. The system did not remove risk. It distributed it upward, across time, across institutions, across layers too large for one person to notice. That is what many people mistook for stability. Not the absence of volatility, but the presence of shock absorbers. A structure heavy enough to take the first hit. A bureaucracy slow enough to dull the second. A labor market thick enough to keep your private life from shaking every time the larger machine did. Rules were part of that padding too. Not because rules were moral, and not because they were fair, but because they made outcomes slower, heavier, and more predictable. Regulation created friction. Contracts created expectation. Geopolitical alignment created an operating map. Central banks signaled direction. Institutions projected continuity. Even when the system was unequal, it still tried to appear coordinated. That appearance mattered. People could plan around it. Businesses could model against it. Workers could assume that tomorrow would still resemble the terms of today. Stability was never a feeling produced by truth alone. It was also produced by process. A chain of procedures, norms, treaties, review cycles, and institutional habits. That prevented every shock from reaching the lowest layer immediately. That is why the old system felt larger than any one crisis. It could take impact, reroute pressure, and buy time. Time was the invisible protection. Time let governments intervene. Time let employers postpone decisions. Time let households adapt. Once enough time existed between disruption and consequence, daily life could still feel solid, even when the structure underneath it was already changing. The same was true of the broader machine. Centralized stability did not mean everything was healthy. It meant volatility had somewhere to go before it reached you. Debt could be rolled. Markets could be supported. Currency pressure could be managed. Supply disruptions could be negotiated around. Global coordination, however imperfect, created channels for stress to circulate inside the system rather than fall directly onto individuals. Institutions acted like reservoirs. They stored pressure. They translated disorder into reports, meetings, interventions, and delayed adjustments. That translation made the world feel governable. A household could remain calm because someone, somewhere, still looked responsible for absorbing the first wave. The public did not need to understand every mechanism. It only needed to sense that mechanisms existed. That is what buffer systems do. They make private life possible by interrupting the raw force of the larger structure. When those systems worked, risk still existed, but it felt distant, professionalized, and managed. You could mistake that distance for permanence. You could build a future on the assumption that shock would be filtered before it touched your body, your income, your savings, or your timeline. That protective delay is thinner in work. Companies no longer behave as if labor should be preserved until stability returns. They behave as if labor is the first variable to adjust. Entry-level roles weaken. Middle layers are compressed. Specialized work remains. But fewer people can rely on the old sequence of progression to reach it. The ladder still appears in front of you, but parts of its economic logic are gone. AI accelerates this pressure at the lower end, but the deeper change is managerial. Firms are built to stay flexible, not to protect continuity. Efficiency is rewarded more than loyalty. Contingency beats permanence. The result is not simply job loss. It is exposure. Every shift in demand, automation, restructuring, or capital discipline moves faster toward the worker. Your role is no longer a shelter from volatility. It is one of the main places volatility now appears. That is why effort feels less linear. Skill still matters. But the system around skill no longer guarantees orderly conversion into security. Work remains real. But the promise that work would absorb uncertainty before it reached your life is weaker now. Rules have thinned in the same way. Not disappeared entirely, then. They no longer create the same confidence that frameworks will hold long enough for people to plan around them. Trade rules shift under political pressure. Strategic alignment becomes transactional. Regulatory certainty weakens when national priorities turn more immediate, more defensive, more short-term. The formal architecture still exists on paper, but the lived experience of that architecture is different. The map changes faster than ordinary households or ordinary businesses can adapt. A rule no longer feels like a floor. It feels like a current arrangement. Something valid until leverage changes. Something stable until the next exception. That weakens the viewer's sense of distance from systemic decisions. If rules can be bent quickly, then planning has less shelter. Price assumptions weaken. Career assumptions weaken. Cross-border assumptions weaken. Even domestic assumptions begin to feel conditional. The structure does not have to vanish to stop protecting you. It only has to lose enough credibility that everyone behaves more cautiously, more defensively, more temporarily. Once that happens, uncertainty is no longer buffered by trust in the framework. It starts leaking downward into everyday decision-making. The economy adds another layer of false calm. Many people still mistake continued motion for real stability. Markets keep trading. Consumers keep spending. Governments keep intervening. The screens remain alive. The language remains technical. The system continues to function. And that functioning creates the impression that stress is under control. But maintenance is not the same as absorption. Artificial support can extend the structure without restoring buffering capacity. A system can still move while transmitting more risk downward. It can still look operational while becoming less protective. That distinction matters. Because when stability is maintained rather than regenerated, households face a strange environment. The outside world appears normal enough to demand confidence, while the inside reality punishes overconfidence quickly. Costs move unpredictably. Asset assumptions become fragile. Savings lose clarity as a defense mechanism. The old relationship between patience and reward weakens. You are told to behave as if the machine is functioning normally, while silently adapting to the fact that it no longer catches volatility the same way. Nothing needs to break dramatically for the experience of personal instability to intensify. A supported system can still pass the pressure through. Global coordination no longer repairs that weakness the way it once seemed to. Power is more fragmented, trade routes more fragile, alliances more conditional, and strategic systems less aligned. That does not always produce visible chaos. Often it produces something more dangerous for ordinary life. Misalignment without drama. Different blocks operating by different incentives. Different regulatory directions moving at once. Different risk calculations layered over the same market. 4 large institutions. This becomes a hedging problem. For individuals, it becomes a life problem. Because fragmented systems do not absorb shocks efficiently. They duplicate them, redirect them, and leave gaps between them. A company pauses investment. A state changes its priorities. A supply chain reroutes. A currency adjusts. A market reprices. None of these events looks like the end of the world in isolation. But together, they remove the old confidence that one coherent system is still smoothing the edges. The world keeps functioning, but with fewer shared assumptions. And when assumptions stop lining up, households inherit the instability in practical form. Delayed decisions, unpredictable prices, uncertain career signals, and a planning horizon that keeps shrinking without ever fully disappearing. This is where the transfer becomes personal. Volatility moves downward until it changes the texture of ordinary life. Your income becomes more sensitive to forces you do not control. Your monthly costs stop behaving like a stable background. Your savings no longer feel like a complete answer to uncertainty, only a partial delay. Decisions that once felt routine begin carrying strategic weight. When to move, when to wait, when to buy, when to commit, when to switch, when to stay visible, when to conserve. None of this looks dramatic from the outside. That is why the shift is underestimated. The system still appears intact enough that your exposure feels like a private problem. But it is not private. It is structural. The larger machine is transmitting more of its variation into your timeline. That is why fatigue grows even when there is no single disaster. You are not reacting to one event. You are adapting continuously to a world in which the shock absorbers are weaker. What reaches you is not only higher risk, but higher frequency, more adjustment, more vigilance, more moments where ordinary planning feels like prediction. Planning suffers first, because planning depends on continuity more than optimism. You do not need a perfect world to plan. You need a world where enough variables hold still long enough to make sequencing meaningful. That is the condition becoming unreliable. Career paths blur before they mature. Cost structures change before decisions pay off. Market signals reverse before confidence compounds. The viewer begins to feel something difficult to name. Not panic, but calculation fatigue. The exhaustion of having to reevaluate assumptions too often. The sense that every medium-term move now contains a hidden exposure you cannot fully price. This is why people can work hard, save carefully, act responsibly, and still feel structurally unheld. Their behavior did not become irrational. The environment became less absorbent. More of the system's instability now enters the timeline of the individual before institutions can neutralize it. In that world, discipline still matters, but discipline feels different. It no longer guarantees smooth compounding. It often just reduces damage. That emotional downgrade is one of the clearest signs of the transfer. The promise was diluted, until planning itself started feeling provisional. At the center of all of this is the quiet redistribution of responsibility. Risk has not disappeared. It has moved. What institutions once managed collectively is increasingly converted into personal adaptation. You monitor more. You hedge more. You remain flexible more. You carry more liquidity, more optionality, more caution, more self-correction. The burden of resilience shifts downward, and then disguises itself as maturity. Be adaptable. Be anti-fragile. Stay ready. Keep learning. Stay mobile. None of that advice is false. But beneath it is a colder truth. The system is asking the individual to perform functions that used to belong to larger structures. To absorb timing risk, income risk, policy risk, market risk, coordination risk. This is why so many people feel pressure without always being able to locate the source. The source is not one employer, one government, one market event, or one platform. The source is the transfer itself. The old contract between person and system has thinned. The machine still runs. It still extracts. It still demands participation. But it buffers less. And the hit arrives lower, quieter, closer, until the final shock absorber is you. Nothing about the ending is theatrical. There is no final crash scene. No official announcement that the safety net has been removed. The lights remain on. Markets open in the morning. Packages still move. Screens still glow. Salaries still arrive. Until they do not. Opportunities still appear. Until they thin. The world does not look broken enough to justify the feeling many people carry inside it. That is what makes the aftermath so heavy. The system remains functional enough to demand trust, but not protective enough to deserve it. So the individual stays alert, always recalibrating, always running scenarios in the background, always trying to distinguish a temporary fluctuation from a structural change, before the cost of getting it wrong becomes personal. This is the new state, not collapse. Exposure, not the end of the machine, but the end of the assumption that the machine will catch you before the ground does. It still moves above you. It still organizes the terms. It still names the game. It just no longer absorbs the impact first, and that is why the silence after the realization feels heavier than the realization itself.